Oh my word. Okay. Wow. Wow. We made it. Sort of. Wasn't my fault. It's true. It was not Helly's fault. It's true. It's true. He is not the one to blame. Is true. Is true. Wow. We made it there in the end. That was a harrowing thing. Okay, I gotta turn some settings back down here. Adjust these. None of my lurks are current anymore. I lost all of that. That is a shame. Why go through all the trouble of setting up early if it's just gonna light on fire? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Okay. Arm. Oh, you ended. Oh, bet. Okay. And we get to pull in that tab. And we get to pull in that tab. And that tab's fine. And that tab's done. Hello. Greetings. Salutations, all and good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Sorry for the crazy delay. Jeez. I hope that you guys are well. We're here. Jeez. Half an hour late, but I'm 40 minutes late. Golly, 40 minutes. Silly technology. Silly technology. Okay. Yeah, these lurks are gonna have to do. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. I just don't have time to be doing this right now. We are already behind. We are already behind. And that is to say nothing of the fact that I need to disable raids and stuff tonight. So, let's go ahead and pull up those tabs right now. That. Ready to disable those. Okay. I need a drink. How about you guys? You guys need a drink? I need a drink. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Okay, I'm pretty sure I saw a disappointment pack in there. Intra, it's good to see you. Hang on, let me catch up. Okay. I lost all of my old chat. So I lost several people somewhere in the wash. I'm so sorry. Brad was here. Hello. Mel is here. Hello. Guts is here. Hello. Squirrel is here. And Leanne is here. And Ellie is here. And Fabulous Humans are here. Wow. Wow. It's good to see you guys. I'm glad to have you in. Okay. Yes, there is a disappointment pack. There is. For Intra. Poor Intra. Hoi. Thank you for calling out them cool kid Vips. I appreciate you very much, Mel. Thank you. Oh, and big thanks to Helly for babysitting the situation, because I might have had another quarter-life crisis. Because that was pretty scary. Thought I just lost all my entire 2026 worth of work, you guys. Another crappy day for the week. Yeah, it's been okay, crappy day. You got get another poop joke, you guys. That's what it is. That's what's going on. Squirrel's got the jokes. Control-Shift-T in a browser to open the last tabs, even if in a new... Yeah, I recovered everything. I just need to reload them all, and it's a lot of tabs to be reloaded. That's all. It's all. Family in town this weekend. You ever feel like you don't get a weekend if you don't get to spend it doing what you want? Or is that just me? No, Intra, the thing about my life is I tend to do the things that I want to do, which is work. But yes, mine's different from most of y'all, because you're like, if I don't get to do nothing and chill, then I'm disappointed. I wanted that to I wanted to chill time. I don't have chill time in my life. That's not what I'm after. But yes, in the same vein, if I don't get to work as I would like, if instead I'm doing something different, then yes, I do feel gypped out of my weekend. That do be a thing. That do be a thing. Yeah, I got you. You got family in town, huh? That's fun. Coffee here, hell yeah. Squirrel's good drink is coffee for the evening. Very good, very excited. I'm gonna be getting a drink. We need, because of the subject for tonight, I'm gonna need a big boy drink. Yep, we're going straight for the Kilcoman. We're going for something nice. We're going for it. We're going for it. Gang, 3 components comprise an ideal talk. Good drink, good smoke, and good company. We've got the first one here on lock. No cigar for me tonight, and dear God, that's great, because it would have been an unbelievable pain to do all of that and not have the logistics to have a cigar. Well, and good company, dear God, that's where you guys come in, and thank you for supplying the ladder, because this would be woeful without you. So, okay, we get a little bit of bottle asthma as we kick this thing off. Just a little bit. Because, yes, we are gonna be drinking a little bit. Thank goodness I don't gotta share this bottle with anybody, and I can go, Thank goodness for that. Here, sit, stay, look pretty for the nice people. If I gotta do it, so do you. Anyways, I just finished some gamering and sense of disturbance. Yeah, Helly was there. Helly was ready. Bree, hello, doctor. Current cup, coffee, Starbucks, smoked butterscotch. Huh. There's you. Thank goodness you're here. Yeah, Yeah. Speaking of crazy games, you guys. Intra claimed the pack. Yes, Intra was on the ball, baby. I appreciate it. Okay, make sure all these are working. They appear to be. This one's not. Why are you not? Refresh the page. Refresh the page. Okay, good. We got there in the end. Man, okay, it's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy week. Thank you all for bearing with me. I truly do appreciate your guys' patience. I'm really bummed out that I had to miss Tuesday's stream with you guys. I'm really grateful that I didn't have to miss the CNRs on Wednesday. That was very cool getting to see you guys and have you guys roped in on the goodness. That was very nice. Very nice indeed. Whew. Yeah, it's been a weird week. Gotta say, it's been a bit of a weird week. And tonight's gonna be a little bit of a continuation of that theme. A little bit. So before we jump into that, which I'm going to be doing presently, we are going to fire it up, baby. I know we probably lost most people because they probably said, oh, Gus isn't streaming. He's not live at the normal time. And so we probably lost 90% of the people who were going to show up, but I am proceeding. I take my schedule seriously, and so I try to be here if it's at all possible. So I'm grateful for you guys being here. Despite all the technical difficulties, despite the ominous messaging from me in the go live message and all the rest, I'm grateful to have you guys in. It says a great deal about you. Thank you for being here. Means an awful lot. That's yummy. That is yummy. I like it. Big fan of the peated. Big fan of the peated. I'm gonna nurse this thing for forever. I bought this bottle like 2 years ago. We're going low and slow. Special pour. Special pour. I won't be able to get this one again, I don't think. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this twice. This was a small batch. Yeah. Yep, bottles in the batch, 1,260. And that was it. No more of them. No more of them. A limited release. But you guys are worth the special pour tonight. Because tonight's going to be a little bit heavy. And it's going to feel a little bit out of left field, I think, for some people. Disable raid. Disable raid. But it is not. I assure you, it has a purpose. It has an important purpose. Ground we got to cover tonight. We got to do it. Guts, it's good to see you. Got that blinker float. Okay, I got you. Thank you for dropping links, you guys. I appreciate it. Disappointment pack. Intra snapped it up before you, Guts. It's true. It's true. Oh, okay. Oh. Ah, jeez. Wow, okay. No, I got bamboozled. I'm like, I heard it. There's eye drops left. It just refused to let go. Okay, so... went out to touch grass today. Congratulations. Hope you're not allergic. Hope you don't get hay fever. That's pretty cool. Glad to hear it, Guts. Always glad to hear it. Very much. Very much. Oh, okay. Man, I am loath to... let's see. How do I do this? I already take allergy meds. Thanks to everybody who makes tonight possible. Tonight is a strange night for me. It's one of the stranger nights, in fact, of my streaming tenure, and that's not hyperbole. That's this has been a weird week, building up to this talk. So thanks to everybody who makes this possible, everybody who has voted with their dollars to support the Mafia project up to this point, everybody who has sacrificed to make it so. It is my hope that tonight I don't lose you. I hope to not lose you guys and your vote of confidence. There's a risk. There's always a risk because, you know, I'm a person and I'm going to say things. But I'm grateful to all of you who made this possible. Perhaps you won't want your names attached to this project by the end. I don't know. But for those of you who at present have your names attached, big thanks especially to Aki, Leanne, Gail, Goose, Mammy, Kira, Abby, Tink, Helly, May, Karma, Pencil, Pre, Ryan, Mouse, Trosky, Pell, CJ number 1, and Zin. Thank you guys. You lovely humans, you. You lovely humans, you. Whew, okay, so, if you're not on multiple tabs, if you're not on Rumble, consider pulling up a tab on Rumble, on Twitch, on YouTube. We are spread loaded, you guys. We're not putting all of our eggs in one basket. It means an awful lot. I mean, it means an awful lot that you have one tab open. I know that there's a mentality that I don't take umbrage with. I'm just acknowledging a reality here, whereby it's like, yeah, you know, you're lucky you've got one tab, Gus. So I don't take 2 for granted at all. I understand. Like, you know, no, I've got the bandwidth, but I'm still trying to decide on a minute-by-minute basis whether or not you get 1 tab. So I'm grateful for your consideration. Okay. Streams are disabled, or raids are disabled, rather. I'm not going to be having a banner run along the bottom of the screen because it's not a formal lecture. This is going to be short. This is going to be quick. Thank you again for those of you who are here. Thank you guys for putting up with the hassle and for the crazy delay. I feel like this is how long we would have gotten to shoot the shit for and chit chat and me postpone and delay and procrastinate on getting to it before I would have actually gotten to it. So it seems only fair that I jump in before the hour mark. All right, here goes. I've been working on this series for a long time, you guys. Long time. I started doing formal research into like relationships and stuff and best practices and all that stuff a very long time ago. That's not to say that I was very good at implementing those practices in my life, per some of the stories I've already shared with you guys. But I started my study of these things, my informal study of these things a very long time ago. I started a formal study of these things about a decade ago, a little over a decade ago, when I got into this humaning thing for realsies, and I went from past Gus to some semblance of present day Gus, and I have tried to improve myself since then. Which is to say, explicitly, I was not mindful or intentional about this kind of improvement in the before times. So there was a switch flipped, and I started taking this stuff very seriously, where before I was rather flip with all of it, and I treated it flippantly. I've been working on the talks explicitly for some 5 years. Okay? I toyed around with initial teaching of this stuff back in my first year of streaming, in fact. My first 12 months of streaming, I talked about relationships. It was intended to be formal, but it was rather informal. It was very meandering. It was very broad. And it was certainly not accessible. It was not digestible in any means. By any means, it was a shit show. The last time I talked about relationships on stream was more formal. Even then, though, it was much more meandering, much longer segments. It was not bite-sized information that you could wrestle with. It was huge. Like, it was an information dump. And it was like, good luck parsing this. Good luck parsing through all this mess. Since then, I have found research. I've found new data, new polling data, new statistics, whatever. And I've added it to files where I'm like, okay, next time I talk about relationships, I'll need to incorporate this in. Ooh, this is an interesting idea. Let's do some research there. I would write a quick blurb about it to say, here's my thought process about incorporating this into a talk series. And it got longer and longer and longer. Okay, it was again, sprawling to begin with. But it became a behemoth of information because it's a huge project. It's a huge subject that covers quite a lot. And as you guys have already heard me say for the last month, just talking about dating really isn't useful because it's in a vacuum. You're talking about it in theory at best. Practically speaking, none of the dating part of it is useful without understanding the singleness part of it, which is why I belabored the point, which is why I loitered for as long as I did in the season of singleness, because it was critical to do so as a precursor, as a prerequisite to doing well at all anything else. Okay, anything in relationships, the prerequisite to doing any of that well, the prerequisite is understanding singleness and doing that well. Like, you need to understand it before you're capable of doing it well. You won't accidentally do it well. You won't get lucky. It takes intentionality. It takes foresight. It takes concerted, intentional effort. It takes sacrifice. It takes purposeful sacrifice to get it right. And that is all a prerequisite to the rest. Hence going into so much depth with the singleness type stuff. Now, that brings us to, well, an enormous amount of data, an enormous amount of information. Where I went, okay, how much is too much stressing the significance of singleness? I've got to present the information, right? Listen, I may have a ton of good intention. I may have a ton of good data, yeah? It's no good if no one will listen to it, right? If I become insufferable in my handling of that, it's no help to you, right? It has to be small enough that you don't just chuck it and say, not worth the trouble, right? So I could sit up here for an entire year and every single Friday just talk to you about singleness and how you need to take it seriously and all of that. I spent a long time talking about quite a few of the things that I wanted to with singleness, but it wasn't exhaustive. It was not everything I wanted to say. I actually truncated quite a lot for that reason. I did not want people to say, all right, I'm over this, and leave. So I condensed some stuff, and I glossed over quite a few things that I felt were important to sort of hammer at. So then it was, all right, we'll do the questions, and then we'll jump into dating. I pull up all of this information, all of these statistics about modern dating, changes culturally, considerations, questions that people have, causal and correlative relationships between how certain practices are practiced, how certain things are, how norms, normative behaviors and non-normative behaviors are performed, and the consequences of those things, for better or worse. And I've got all of this information to present to you guys. And I was really refining a bunch of thoughts that I had about dating, the mechanics of dating, okay? Because I know that that is something that you guys have asked a lot about, and that's from the questions that you guys have submitted, the anonymous questions, using the anonymous thing. If you guys are interested in submitting questions, you still can. !Notion in the chat. It'll pull up a link here. It'll take you to a totally anonymous thing where you can put in questions that you've got. They go directly to me. Nobody else can see them. I have no idea who they come from. It's totally anonymous, guys. You can ask whatever embarrassing questions you want. I am grateful to all of you who have taken advantage of that. It has been insightful. It has been helpful to me, incidentally, for your doing that. That has been helpful because it has given me an insight as to where you guys are, to where many of you lot are in this, in thinking about relationships, in practicing, in walking this stuff out. It has been very insightful.
Yes, I've got a lot of data sets. I've got polls. I've got a lot of empirical type stuff. But it's also very helpful to have the anecdotal from you guys specifically. My most committed, present audience who are invested in this. I'm very interested because I am most keen on serving you well. I am hopeful that my words can benefit whomever hears them in due course, but I am specifically hopeful that they help you today. So, many of you asked mechanical sort of questions about dating. What about this? How long to do this? How long should I wait before? When is the right time to do this? What's the right combination of words to use in a circumstance like that? A lot of it is the practical, very pragmatic, practical type questions, okay? So I started working on, I started refining a lot of what I have for all of that. Now, this week has been troublesome enough. It's been shitty enough, if you know, you know, on its own. So my time has not entirely been my own in preparing any of this stuff anyways. But then I jump in to how will I open dating? How will I jump into dating? What will be my series, as it were, my season opener for dating? We've moved from singleness into dating. How do I want to do that? And I had a handful of good options that I was pretty pleased with. I said any one of these is serviceable. Any one of these is fine. But then I ran into something interesting. Hence my talking to you guys like this as I am tonight. I started laying out best practices for dating. And I was struck by something. I just finished a month with you guys about singleness, and I talked about best practices for singleness. Now, I did that as a matter of course, to my thinking, to my mind, for all the work and research that I've done on this over the years, for the many books that I've read on the subject, for counselors that I've talked to about this, okay, for therapists and pastors and you name it, like all sorts of people who deal with any sort of stuff relationally, okay? I have interviewed no small number of people who have done the legwork on this and have the data. Lots of relationship folk of all kinds, okay, professional and amateur. Now, it is my hope with the talks, with all talks, like broadly speaking, with Gus Talks, to spare you guys reading 6 books and getting all of that data firsthand and then assimilating it into your schema of understanding. It is instead my hope to kind of distill down some ideas and make them fun-sized, make them approachable, make them accessible. I can take a dense piece of work, a dense piece of research, for instance, and try to make it a little more approachable for somebody who perhaps isn't a scholar. Maybe you don't have the time to read. I totally understand that. As somebody with very little time, a lot of my time goes to reading. It goes to research. It goes to trying to expand my schema of understanding the world, my scope of learnedness, in order that I might break something down for the benefit of you guys, who, again, perhaps don't have that kind of time, or you don't have that kind of inclination. Maybe you don't have the attention span to do deep dives into reading. Now, I am passionate about learning, and so I enjoy these delvings into the information mines, okay? And I've been doing it for years now with this Mafia project. I love delving deep into said mines, pulling up the nuggets, and then sharing them with you guys. I don't begrudge the process here. I have much enjoyed the process of doing this, and it is my hope that that has been of service to you guys. it is my hope that that has been a benefit to you guys, where I will read 7 or 8 books and say, here are some very easy to remember, easy to think of, easy to follow ways of grasping what is otherwise possibly very complex ideas, so that you can incorporate them into your life today. That's my hope. That's what it's always been with the talks. I never mean to patronize you guys. It is never my intention to talk down. It is never you're not smart enough to understand these ideas on your own. I have always approached it from, you're busy. I'm busy, you're busy. But I like learning. I like doing this. I do it in my spare time for funsies. I want you guys to thrive too. And so when I come across information that I think will be beneficial toward that end, to helping you thrive, I want to share it. This is not a burden. Nobody has saddled me with this, and it has never been an angle. It has never been from the vantage point, from the thinking of, you're not capable of reading these books on your own. Sure you are. But if I can help in the process and speed some stuff along and try to share with you, then we have some bonding in the process of wrestling with ideas, and it saves you the research. Don't reinvent the wheel. You just have to know that I'm negotiating in good faith and that I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes with stuff. And that's the relationship, and that's what many of you guys have done over the years. You're like, do I trust that he's negotiating in good faith? Do I trust that he's presenting the information in good faith? All questions for your discernment, yeah? Okay. That's the relationship. That's what we do in the talks. That said, I have a whole host of what are, to me, very basic baseline ideas about the world, based on the research that I've done, based on all the study that I've done, based on all the thinkering I've done, all the thinkering and the tinkering that I've done. I have a pretty robust schema for understanding the world. I have a pretty solid foundation for how I see things working and coming together, and it's pretty coherent. Of course I don't know everything. Of course I don't. Same for each of us, right? But mine's fairly robust. And so for me, there are a lot of things that I might say that I sort of take for granted based on all of that legwork. I say a lot of things as a matter of fact, as a matter of course, because to me they are a matter of fact. They are a matter of course. They are based on a robust study of the facts. And then I try to take that information and see how it matches up with the real world, and if it's a good fit, I keep it, and if it's a bad fit, I chuck it, right? So I've read countless things, and I've heard good ideas, I've heard bad ideas, and that's every single day of every single week. I get that. There's some good and there's some bad. And I have landed on what I think is a lot of stuff that goes without saying now. There's a lot of what we might call common sense. To me, there's a lot of common sense. What is that? Sense that is common to us. Common sense, meaning plain, meaning shared betwixt us, sort of as a matter of course. It doesn't require a whole bunch of explanation. It doesn't require a whole bunch of in-depth parsing. It's stuff that we share. Kind of duh things. We're like, yeah, duh, okay, you didn't need to expel all that out. And I feel like some of you are thinking that about the things I've already said in just the last few minutes here. Please bear with me. I taught the singleness portion of that from that. That was my thinking with all of the singleness. stuff. For me, all of that was a matter of course. For me personally, for me, Gus, all of that was, well, duh. You need to have your life figured out before you add somebody else to it. What did we say singleness was for? Figuring out who you are, what you believe, and what you'll pursue prior to adding another person to the equation. That, to me, duh. It wasn't always that way, though. This is what struck me this week. I taught the last 4 weeks of this now from a very matter-of-fact perspective of, well, duh. Well, yeah. Of course you can't hang your hopes. You can't hang your life on another. Of course it would crush them. Of course another person can't bear the weight of that. Of course. What struck me this week in getting into the dating stuff, however, is there are a lot of things that I have written over these last years in preparing for all of this. Data sets, conclusions, outcomes that I wrote down, that I recorded, that I kept, that I squirreled away for use in this. And as I was going through them, I sort of was like, yep, this is good. This is great. This is, yep, off we go. And then it struck me, I am struck with a conundrum. Something dawned on me that sort of left me in an odd spot. Perhaps many of you heard my posits, my, to me, matter-of-fact posits about what singleness is for. And you went, all right. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way before, but just like I hadn't once upon a time. And you were like, yeah, okay, I really should get that in order. Yeah, okay, that makes logical sense. Yes, it follows that if this, then this. Okay. But with dating, boy, howdy, does it get much messier, much quicker. And as I started looking through my lectures, the 3 that I got prepared already, I was planning on adding a 4th and a 5th. The 3 that are prepared for dating, I went, someone's going to take umbrage with that. And with that, and with that, and with that. Not because I'm not presenting them well. Not because I'm not backing it up with data. Not because it will be because out of hand, someone will say, I don't care about that data. I don't want to give too much away because I still plan on teaching those things. I still plan on going through that stuff. But I first was like, no, okay, I can't teach this right out the gate, what I had planned on. I think this needs to come first. I don't love this. It doesn't flow as well. But I feel like all of this information will be important in order for someone to take seriously this information. Okay, so then I moved some things around. And then I'm like, ooh, it's clunkier. It's almost like I need people to have a certain level of understanding before this. And then I'm like, crap, they also need to have a certain level of understanding before this. And then there are claims that are made in here that now is at the front of the line that someone would say, well, that's a bold assumption that you think I care about that. Well, that's an interesting That's an interesting posit that you make. I disagree that it's important. And then, unfortunately, that brought me to the sex stuff. So I went, okay. I gotta talk about sex first. I have to give the sex talk first. I'm not naive. I understand how the world works these days. In fact, that's quite a large part of the talks for this. I have not looked forward to giving the sex talk here on the stream. It's been sort of a running joke for the past couple months that I have been dreading doing so. But that's only because, yeah, it's awkward. Yeah, it can be uncomfortable to talk about. But that's not the chief reason. The chief reason is because of what I ran smack into in preparing this week. When writing these talks, I did so based on an a priori assumption. That is to say, I wrote them with a specific audience in mind. What audience is that? Per tonight's stream title, an audience of people who actually want to have lasting joy and peace in their lives. What do I mean by that? Again, it struck me during this week's reorganization of lecture material that my assumption is, with many of you, without basis. Here I was preparing the talk about sex, one that's, again, difficult and awkward enough on its own, mind you, when it struck me that long before I would get to describing best practices in this area, because that is my goal, best practices across the board for relationships, I would be met with derisive comments from those who disagree with the fundamental worldview from which I'd make such remarks, make such claims. I would say things that, to me, are, duh, of course, naturally, if this, then this. A is A, Aristotelian sort of, logical, sensical, baseline things from which rational humans can healthily operate. And yet, in going back and seeing the remarks that have been made about these baseline comments, and searching around the internet for thoughts and feelings and forum boards, it was a mistake. And all the rest of this, stupid Reddit, I actually don't have the luxury of speaking as a matter of course on this matter. For example, if I were to cite the research on how certain practices, and I'm being vague here intentionally, certain practices lead to overall better health outcomes, yeah? I'd be doing so, me personally, me Gus, I would be doing so assuming that those listening actually value better health. If I were to prove empirically that what I would describe as best practices lead to more stable relationships, say, I'd do so assuming that those listening actually value stable relationships. More stable families. The assumption is that those listening value stable families, a stable family unit. If I show how these best practices lead to a more prosperous society, the assumption would be that those listening Don't actively wish for the society's downfall. I think you see where I'm going with this. I have approached the Masterclass from a point of, as I just described to you, how I have all previous series, all previous talks. I think that you guys are certainly capable of doing all of this research and study on your own. I think each of you is capable of rational, reasonable, reasoning. I think each of you is capable of that. I approached the Masterclass from the same position. You are capable of studying all these things on your own, on pulling in the data and comparing this or that. You'd, of course, have to avoid all of the intellectual pitfalls, right? Cherry-picking data that supports your confirmation bias and all the rest, right? You'd go through the same troubles. You'd go through the same hassle, yeah, but you could. Where I've been in error, in a technical sense, where I've been in error in my build up to this series, in my preparation for this series, in what I've tackled so far, and certainly where I was going to go this week, is in assuming that in 2026 we actually all agree on what desirable outcomes are, on what we mean by that. When I say, and again, I don't mean to be patronizing. I know that I'm belaboring the point here, and I know I'm getting really granular here, but hang with me. When I say I want to do all of this stuff that I'm doing anyways, research, learning, trying to understand, chasing wisdom, being a wisdom pirate, how I've often described myself, I want, that. It does me no good if I can't share it. If it just holed up in my brain. I want it to benefit you guys. What do I mean by benefit you guys? I mean, and what that phrase means, what that phrasing implies, is that many people who might be listening are not abiding for whatever reason. Youth is certainly a big part of that, right? Ignorance. You just don't know any better yet. You haven't been down that road before. You haven't had a chance to learn certain things. You will have in the course of due time, but we can give you a shortcut here to understanding if I interject and I toss a little bit of knowledge at you ahead of time. The implication is that there are a bunch of you who for a whole host of reasons are not doing things perfectly. No, none of us are, but not even on the better side of average in terms of doing something well, doing your life well, and living your life, therefore, maximally, beneficially. You are not living your life in such a way that has led to your thriving. True of each of us, right? In different areas of our life, in different fields of inquiry, in different areas of practice in our lives, we all fall short. We all screw it up. We are all, every single one of us here in the Mafia community, a disappointment. We talk about it all the time, right? You and I are the same in this regard. We are each disappointments, first to ourselves and then to others. First to the person in the mirror and then to everybody else. That's true of all of us. It just is. Like, you can lie to yourself all day long and go, I'm perfect. All right, that'll just make you an insufferable twit. Like, you're not fooling anybody. None of us are. So it makes sense for us to just sort of own this right out of the gate. As a starting place, as a square one sort of idea, is, yeah, I don't have everything figured out. Yeah, I'm not perfect. Yeah, I make mistakes, right? That's each of us. We share this in the Mafia. It's one of the founding, cornerstone principles of the Mafia community. Is, because that's true of me, And I therefore benefit from and appreciate grace from people when I screw up. Not if I screw up in theory, when I screw up. Let's be real here. When I mess things up, when I blow it, when I fall short. I am grateful for your guys' patience. I'm grateful for your understanding. I'm grateful for your guys' grace. I'm grateful for your extending to me the benefit of the doubt. I am grateful for all of that. Because this is true of each of us, because each of us are a screw up to varying degrees in various ways, it stands to reason that our baseline assumption ought to be, yeah, I like getting grace from others when I screw up. I ought to extend grace to others too when they screw up. Because it's what I would want. It's what I do want. It's what I do enjoy when I inevitably mess things up. That's one of the cornerstone ideas of the Mafia, of hard mode. Treat people the way you want to be treated. That's hard, frankly. We value ourselves, we value our comfort, we value our own personal experience more highly than we do others. It's an inherent selfishness in us, a self-preservation type stuff, okay? We are biased in giving ourselves grace for me, not for thee. Okay. In preparing the talks, any talk, the baseline assumption like that is we're all screw-ups. There are things you don't know. There are things you are ignorant of, perhaps things you're maybe just stubborn about, whatever it is. And I'm trying to share something I have learned in order that you might go from here on the improvement meter, to here. You get a little bit better, incrementally, bit by bit, surrounded by a community who's doing the same and is going to cheer you along as they hope you will cheer them along. That's what we're doing here in tackling this. The baseline assumption, though, in all of these talks is that there is a good. There is what we would describe as doing it, whatever it is, doing it well. Managing it well. Finishing it well. Running the race well. In all talks across all subjects, to include the Masterclass, the Relationships Masterclass that we are here now in, there is an assumption baked in to any lecture on any subject that there is a right way and a wrong way to do things. There are good practices and bad practices, best practices and worst practices. The very nature of there being best practices implies the existence of worst practices. You're tracking here. I know that you are. I just really have to make this one clear. Best practices exist, which means worst practices exist, which means slightly better practices exist, which mean slightly better practices, which means middling practices exist, which means slightly above best practice, slightly above average practices exist, and closer to what we would call best practices. You could say perfect practices. Are any of us going to nail perfect? No. That's not how humans work. But we trend toward it. We want to trend toward it. That's our aim. Is that there is a good, and we want to get closer to it. In writing this portion of the masterclass, in preparing the data sets and everything for this masterclass, I tested a few things that were very frustrating for me. And the conclusion was, it is not necessarily the case that those listening agree with what my best practices are. I say, moving in that direction is good. There are those of you listening who will say, no, it's not. Moving in that direction is good. Away from what you've described, Gus. In fact, the bigger the gulf here between these two, the better. How then can I speak to a pragmatic, practical, mechanical set of best practices if we don't agree on what best practices are? I mean, not best practices, not even the mechanical. If we don't agree on what best outcomes are, on what good conclusions look like, on what outcomes are in fact desirable, this wasn't so much an issue with the singleness part. Have purpose in your life. Hard to argue with that. And yet, an extension of that, in the dating portion of this now, all of a sudden brings a greater level of clarity to purpose and chasing after mission and highest conceivable good and all that jazz, with which people will take umbrage, and I've seen it. Listen, though. I understand being a contrarian. Okay? I get it. It can be fun. It can be fun to rebel against some norms. It makes you look cool, feel edgy, okay? And I was there once, too. I rebelled against the authority figures in my house growing up. My parents, right? As do vast majority of teenagers. I rebelled against the authority in my life. I don't like teachers. I don't like the parents. I don't like this person telling me what to do. Looking back on that, though, in hindsight, I am embarrassed by the things I said and did then. I've talked to you guys about this before in different series. I look back on 12-year-old Gus and I'm like, oh, God, for the love of, oh, God. And if I could go back, like, there's, unfortunately, home video exists from back then. Now, God, I can't imagine. All of you whose entire lives were on the interwebs, I fortunately dodged that bullet, like, just barely dodged that bullet. But home video exists. Okay, it's somewhere in archives somewhere, hopefully decaying of age where it will no longer be viewable and the evidence will be destroyed. But in the interim, it's out there. Looking back on 11, 12-year-old Gus is so cringe. Oh my God. And in hindsight, nice pretty hindsight, I am embarrassed by the things I said and did then. Like every teenager, I thought I knew more than I did, right? Dunning-Kruger, ring a bell, anybody? And it's embarrassing, in hindsight, how little I in fact knew. How little I in fact understood when I claimed to know everything. When I said that my parents were stupid and they didn't understand. You don't get it, ma'am. You don't get it, dad. I am embarrassed looking back. Now, wisdom would have it, wisdom would inform us that right now, whatever age you are, the same phenomenon is happening to each of us. Right now. We are sure of ourselves in a lot of ways, about a lot of things, that we frankly ought not be. That we frankly ought to slow our roll a little bit with claiming expertise about. Because we will, if we continue to learn, look back in a handful of years and go, oh, no, did you say that out loud? Oh, God, it's recorded. Ow! I have done this. Even with talks that I've delivered, and in many of them, I stand by quite a bit of what I said, but there's a few things that I'm like, oh, that was such a bad way of teaching it. Like, it's not that the ideas were bad, it's my presentation of those ideas was bad. And in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, oh, that will have confused this person, this subset of people. unless they have this prerequisite field of understanding, they won't get that reference. Unless I could have done a better job. Oh, pain. Wisdom would inform us each right now then that this is presently happening with each of us. Every day. And yet, there are a bunch of contrarians here listening. Either tonight, or they will hear the VOD, or they will hear a snippet of it, or they will hear someone's version of it. The difference is that most of you listening are not 12 or 13. I get being a contrarian. I get wanting to be different. I get that. I understand wanting to stand out. I understand wanting to be just different and other. I get that. But there is an objective, testable reality, y'all. There is an objective, observable, repeatable, and repeatably testable reality. And what's sort of cute, in a cringe sort of, yeah, we've all been there sort of way, when you're 11, 12, or 13 years old, you're just being contrarian about the, I know all the things about all the stuff, and I just want to be different and be edgy. What's sort of cute then isn't cute when you're 20, or 30, or 40. Or 50 or 60 or 70. You can say, for instance, that you are a moral relativist. All you want. You can say that all you want. But you're lying. You're lying. You don't live that way. You can say that you're a moral relativist, but you don't live that way. None of you do. It's not possible. Like, in theory, it's possible. In practice, 0 people live that way. Zero people live that way, including you. Moral relativism is a funny, comical, intellectual exercise. It is not a reality that any of you practice. And yet, several of you claim it. Several people in the Mafia, past and present, and those listening, if this is to be heard later, claim to be moral relativists. What's right for you, Gus, isn't necessarily right for me, or this person, or this person. And you know what? There is no baseline good. You can say that all you want. You betray yourself for a fool if you do, because your life does not match those words. You can say it all day long, but when the rubber of your life meets the proverbial road, you don't live it. Again, you don't actually believe it. You say it to sound edgy, to sound different. Perhaps you are used to working with hearers, listeners, people in your life who are impressed easily by intellectual ideas they don't understand. It sounds sexy and it sounds kind of intellectual to the uninitiated. To the unintellectual, it sounds quite smart. Yeah, you see, it's all relative, and what's right for you is not. It sounds to unwise, uneducated, many low IQ people, it sounds smart. So perhaps you've employed it as a party trick of sorts. perhaps you've used it in certain circles where people ooh and ah when you say it, and you're like, yes, oh yeah, that's right. I have been known to study a thing or two, but you don't live it. It's a lie. So tonight needs to be about brass tacks. I'm gonna try to be somewhat quick with this. Almost all of you who are actively doing hard mode in the Mafia community, in the Discord specifically, doing the CNRs, the Cosa Nostra Rendezvous. These are our smaller group get-togethers that happen each week. This is where we get to do hard mode on a small scale with intentionality with people who are ostensibly negotiating in good faith alongside us, where nobody is trying to score points because nothing's happening in public like this. There's no scorekeeper, there's no mic drops, none of that stuff is taking place. Not in the CNRs. In the CNRs, it's you bring your actual self to bear. You risk your reputation. You risk your comfort. You risk budding or developing or even deep relationships in doing the difficult thing of negotiating well with your fellow man. Hopefully negotiating well. Or at the very least, learning to negotiate well and improving at our negotiating well, okay? That's the goal of these things. Most of you in the CNRs presently, who are doing Term 1 now, which started in the spring, and you are going through Term 1 right now of the Rendezvous, you have heard some of this, what I'm about to say, in the course material. Many of you just covered it in the last couple weeks, okay? So this will be sort of a, wait a second, for those of you who just went through this material, okay? Others of you, or all others of you, perhaps, this will be foreign to you. If I were, in the context of relationships, to ask you, each of you, all of you, okay, singly here in public, if I were to ask you to say, you don't need to do this now, but leave a comment below, put something in chat that says what you hope for your future relationships. We're doing the Relationships Masterclass, after all. So, whether you are single now, whether you are presently dating, whether you are currently engaged, right? Someone hit a knee and you got a ring on it, and you're planning the date, right? Save the date. And maybe you have a ring on it already, and you've already said your vows, and you're married now, and you're in it, or perhaps you're on the other side of it. You've gone through a divorce to varying degrees of nastiness and brokenness and devastation, and you are divorcing the other side. And if I were to ask any one of you, hey, here publicly, let me know what you hope for your future relationships, like for your relationships, romantic relationships in your world. What do you hope to be true? What do you hope to achieve? What do you want? You get your druthers, your wish will happen. What's your wish? The data suggests, and many of you have anecdotally said, well, I want a great relationship. Specifically, I want a great marriage. I want a relationship that will last. I want, many of you have attended weddings where they're like at the reception, whatever, there's a dance floor, right? And it's like, oh, everybody who's married, all the married couples take to the floor. Many of you know this example. If you don't, you'll follow. Married couples to the floor. It's a slow dance, and everybody's slow dancing. And then they say, all right, whomever the DJ is, whoever the MC is for all of it, gets on the horn and says, okay, that's married couples. Awesome. Hey, round of applause for all the married couples. Oh, very fun. Everybody claps. And then they say, all right. If you've been married for, oh, say 3 hours or less, go ahead and take your seats. Or if you've been married for more than 3 hours, stay on the floor, keep dancing. And the newlyweds, of course, laugh, and everybody laughs, and they go take their seat, right? You just said your vows 2 seconds ago. You go sit, right? And all the other couples keep dancing. And then they go, all right, everybody clap. Hey, we've all made it past 3 hours. Congratulations. Very fun. Everybody laughs. Okay. And it's like, all right, if you've been married for longer than a year, keep dancing. Oh, maybe one couple takes their seat. Hey, good job. You made it. All right. Good luck to you guys. Good luck. You guys got a ways to go. And then it's, all right. If you've been married for more than 5 years, stay on the floor and keep dancing. Maybe a couple more people take their seats. Hooray. And then if you've been married for more than 10 years, you stay on the floor. And everybody, handful of couples go take, oh, the floor is getting a little thin now. Maybe now there's only like 6 or 7 couples still dancing up there, depending on how big your wedding is, of course, right? And they're dancing, and oh, it's very fun, hooray! Song goes on, and these couples are sitting there. She's got his head on her chest, and they're slow dancing on the, oh, very cute. And you're already seeing where this is going, right? Everybody who's watched this has known, and now you see that the age, really, of the couples on that floor, it's increasing, right? Typically, it's a lot of young couples who step down first, of course. And then the age of the old people increases as fewer couples remain. Of course, that's basic chronology for you. And they say, all right, if you've been married for 15 years, stay on the floor. 20 years. 30 years? And then there's like 2 couples or like 3 couples still dancing, and they're kind of looking at each other like, hey, 30 couples. That's very exciting, very fun. And then it's, all right, who's been married? If you've been married for 40 years, keep going. And the 2 couples remain up there, and everybody cheers and whooping and hollering, woo, woo, baby, yeah, all 40 years. Oh my God, that's crazy. And then it's 50 years? And it's always super fun. And you get this super old couple who's sitting there, and they like wink at the MC like, and it's like 42 years, 43, 45 years, still going, 50 years, and they're still dancing the same slow dance, and everybody's cheering. It's very exciting. And they're like, 55 years? And then like the second to last couple steps down, and everybody chat. Oh my gosh, how long? 54 years. Wow, 54 years. That is crazy. And all the young people are like, I haven't even been alive half that long. What is that? 55? Oh my gosh. Last couple is still dancing. Dancing away on the floor there. And this is, all right. 60 years. No. 61. 62. 63 years. You've been married. People are whistling. People are clapping. Congratulations to you guys. 63 years. That is a beautiful thing. And I know dear friends of mine who've been married that long. That's a beautiful thing. And that's beautiful in no small part because those of you who've been in marriages, who've been married, who've been in real long relationships like this, you know how hard it can be. You know the highs, you know the lows, you know what this journey entails. And you're like, 60 years. And they're smiling. There's something there. There's something magical in this. And many of you, if I were to ask you here publicly, again, I'm not asking you to put something in chat, hypothetically, were I to put it to you, leave a comment, leave a chat, do something that says what you hope for relationally in your life. You might, if you want to be succinct about it, say that right there. I want to be that couple who is still dancing at the end. I want to be that couple. If I live that long, I want my relationship, not just, you might say, not just do I want it to last that long. I want to be smiling on that dance floor. I want to be holding this person close to me, not because we're roommates that were really good business partners and we managed it, we made it work, and we just sort of teetered along. Not because we somehow got here. No. I want to be the couple who's sitting on that dance floor with my best friend. Yeah? I think that's beautiful. I think that's just... I think it's a wonderful hope. And if that's you who maybe sheds a tear for that, who sees that at a wedding and says, okay, how do I get that? Then what I describe as best practices over the course of the masterclass, that's for you. That's for you. I want that too. I try to live this. I try to practice this. I've been married to Hot Bride for 10 years now. I want that for you. I want that for each of you. I want for each of you to have a relationship that looks like that, and that you say, in 60 years, I'm married to my best friend, and every aspect of my life is made better by their being a part of it. I want that for each of you. But here's the tough love. Many of you will say that you want that, but you don't actually want that. You will say that you want happiness or peace or joy. But that's not true. That's not what you want most. You in theory want it, but not in practice. Again, to those of you who are going through the rendezvous right now, who are in them right now, who are in it right now, who've been doing this for the past handful of months, this will make a lot more sense to you in context. To everybody else, you're just getting a taste. What you really want, you say you want those things. I want the happiness. I want the peaceful marriage. I want the partner to run with. I want that joy, that life-giving bond with another person. I want all those things. No, what you want is to be justified. What you want is to be right. And thus, if you have decided in your brain, no, I'm a victim in life. No, I want a good relationship. I want a healthy relationship. But in practice, each of your relationships fall apart. And you conclude, well, life sucks and then you die. Life is just a series of unfortunate events and I'm caught up in the middle of it. Bad things happen to good people and I'm the best of us. I'm here to tell you that in practice, the odds are quite high indeed that you are sabotaging that very future that you say you want. That you say is most important to you. That you say is your goal. Oh, I want that thing that will last. I want that joy that you're talking about, Gus. I want that thing. All right. You don't get there with your moral relativism. Not in practice. I already said that that's not possible. I mean by you professing it. I mean by you trying to do like mic drop moments and try to, with your pseudo-intellectual type stuff, saying it's all relative anyways, and, you know, what's happy for one person and happy for that's different. No, it's not. No, it's not. what I just described is an objectively good vision and goal, and it's a source of peace and happiness for those who've attained it, and we admire those people for that reason. And yet, we have many a contrarian in this community, and many a contrarian listening. So I ran into a wall, a troublesome wall, this week in preparing the dating material, whereby I would describe a reason why we would want to steer clear of many practices. In particular, I was preparing the sex talk. So I said, hey, you'll want to do these as a matter of course, as a matter of best practices. And you'll want to avoid these. They're mutually exclusive. So if you want the good benefits of the good things and the good ways of doing something, naturally that will mean not doing their antithesis, right? Don't do the opposite. Good thing, bad thing. If you want the good thing, don't do the bad thing. Problem is, I run headlong into the wall of now having to explain as if y'all were children, and you're not. But this is what became of my lecture material. I would first have to make a truth claim. Make a claim that this is indeed good, and then convince you of it before I could even describe, okay, now that you're on board, do those things. Things that are a matter of course. Things that lead to that kind of thriving. That lead to a 60-year thriving marriage. Not the dead ones. We already clarified this. We already made a distinction between the ones that have just hung on and they're more roommates than anything, and the dream marriage that in 30 years is thriving and it's just getting started. In 50 years is the source of stability and encouragement to all of the other couples in your life who want what you have. And you give them hope for their relationships. That. And yet, the practices in the sex talk and in the dating, to a lesser extent, in all of these lectures, I found myself having to explain every single step. Yes, so do these things. No, you actually do want to do these things because they lead to, well, okay, here's why this is a desirable thing. Here's what, as if you were children, and you're not. So rather than beat my head against that wall of having to explain why stable families are a good thing, I decided that what we needed is like a come to Jesus night here before we can continue in this series. What do you want most, relationally? I can tell you. If I know you, if I'm doing life alongside you, say in the rendezvous, say we've had more than casual exchanges here, I can tell you what you most want. It won't be based on what you've told me. It'll be based on your behavior. I can tell you what you want by observing you. I've said before, you could tell me what your priorities in life are, but just show me your calendar. Show me your date book. Show me your itinerary for a day. Show me your schedule. Show me your time audit for the last month. That shows me where all of your hours went. And I will tell you what you care about. I don't need to hear it from your mouth. That'll mostly be a lie. First to yourself, we lie to ourselves all the time. And then it would be a lie to me and anybody else within earshot. The proof is in your actions. The proof is in your behavior. So you can tell me, here's my hopes, here's my dreams. And many of those professed hopes and dreams relationally, just narrow scope here, just relationally, will not match up with the things that you are doing in your life. Your day-to-day actions, your choices, your decision-making will not reflect that being your actual goal. Again, your life is not just a series of unforeseen and unfair happenings, and you're just a passive victim of every little... No. Your behavior has a great deal to do with how you are and how you end up. You say, I want peace. Why do you start fights all the time? Why do you initiate conflict? Why do you push people's buttons to get them roused, to get them fired up? Why do you do that? If what you want is peace. Oh no, if I didn't have such hateful, mean people around me, I could have peace. I want long-lasting relationships that are healthy and wholesome and that, it's mutually beneficial. Why do you act the way you do in relationship to your fellow man? I want robust friendships that can weather any storm, and yet you've done no legwork to procure, to cultivate such friendships. I'm just a victim. Your actions will tell the truth. Again, I can make this very straightforward. Show me your schedule for the month, and I will tell you what your hopes and dreams are. It's true of each of us. Someone says, this is what I care about most in life. Your schedule doesn't back that up, bro. So I ran into a problem in preparing this. In preparing the sex talk, I have heard many of you say, I want long-term healthy relationships. And yet here I am running up against a wall of having to explain. I did a test run against ChatGPT and made some claims about best practices. And ChatGPT, with a straight face, fought me on STDs, STIs now, being an objectively bad thing. It fought me on them being bad. Well, people, it's an unfair distribution of and certain health outcomes, and that's a matter of perspective. That's more of a philosophical. Blood diseases are a matter of opinion? Are they? A stable family unit. Well, that depends on what you mean by stable. You know damn well what I mean by stable. Each of you do. Why? Because most of you have not had a stable one. Unfortunately, I wish I could say you guys know what stable relationships look like because you watched your parents model them. Instead, you know what they look like because you have seen their absence. You know damn well what they're not. You've seen the vacuum where a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, where healthy parents ought to be. You've seen the blank hole in your life where that healthy relationship ought to be. You've heard tale of healthy relationships, and you're like, well, I didn't have that. This is what I mean by common sense. And yet, I will have contrarians among you, among the listeners of this, as I have in the past, who, to be contrarian, will say, Gus, your happy ending, your happily ever after, is not the same as my happily ever after. Is that so? Is yours riddled with STDs? Is yours getting a syphilis infection in your brain? Is that what your happily ever after involves? Square the circle for me. Make the case that it's subjective. Make the case. I understand wanting to be contrarian. I understand wanting to be different. I understand wanting to be edgy. I get it. But I had a very frustrating time trying to prepare a lecture on sex. Best practices for thinking about, talking about, living with, and around sex, as it involves healthy, robust, long-term, stable relationships that lead to long-term positive mental health outcomes. What's a positive mental health outcome, Gus? You know damn well what a positive mental health outcome is. Well, I would say all of these lead to a stable relationship. Well, what's a stable relationship? You know damn well what a stable relationship is. They lead to a stable family. Well, the nuclear family is... Don't get cute. It leads to stable society. And although I don't too much care for my society, and so you know what? Maybe destabilizing it with a little bit of disruption of the nuclear family is a good thing, Gus, because... I almost titled tonight's stream, Weeding Out the Nihilists. The next month of Friday night lectures in the Relationship Masterclass are going to require maturity. Not a 12-year-old edgelord. It's going to require maturity, which involves such practices as delayed gratification. Taking actions and steps today that benefit future you, even though you don't have a full grasp on who future you is, you can abstract to the future and yourself in it and act in the best interest of future you. And not just future you, but future partner, potential future kids, potential future grandkids, and potential future neighbors, and potential future society. That's what's required. For what? For what, Gus? I can just click away. Indeed. And it will betray a great deal about you. I said that all of the talks are purposed with benefiting you guys. Benefiting how? Benefiting what? In the ways that I've described. I want you guys to have healthy, long-term relationships that ought, go without saying, are stable, that are reliable, that are robust, that can handle the storms that will come. Not that maybe, not that are possible, that will come. The storms that will batter you. The storms that will test you. The storms that will damn near break you. Those storms, I want you to be able to weather them. No matter what they look like, no matter what form they take, I want you and your relationships to be that robust. That's what I mean by healthy outcomes. What I mean is where you don't have an existential crisis, a spiral into misery every other day or every other week. I mean whereby you and your prospective partner can say about your relationship, this is the most fulfilling thing in my life, perhaps, and the easiest. This is an incredible relationship in my life, and it's no trouble. No trouble at all. It's a joy. It's not a chore. It's not a tedium that I tolerate. It's not a ball and chain that I drag around. I don't want any of those caricatures for you. I don't want any of that for you. I want you guys to have the kind of relationship that amplifies the good in your life. Which is why we spent so much time in singleness talking about what your life is that then is amplified. I want that for you guys. But if you have it in your brain over the course of the next however many weeks and months we are in this masterclass, that you want to be an edgelord. I don't know. I kind of like my ridiculous, boring relationship where we are just roommates. After all, we've got a pretty good working relationship going, and I don't bother her, and she doesn't much bother me, and this is best roommate I've ever had. Could be worse. And it's not so bad, Yeah, sure, they get on my nerves and they do this and that, but yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I don't want that for you. Yeah, I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. And neither are you. You might, however, say you do. You might, however, say, no, I'm perfectly good with this, guys. Just because you can't handle a roommate marriage doesn't mean I can't. Who are you fooling? Just you. Just you is the answer. I want an actual relationship for you that leads to your thriving, that amplifies the goodness that is in your life because you have cared enough to follow best practices. But the very first roadblock that we will run into in my attempting to do this, in my attempting to walk with you through this, in my attempts to support you and encourage you and cheerlead for you during this process, the very first obstacle I will run into is your contrarianism, which is another way of saying pride. You can say all day long, none of it matters anyways, Gus. Yes, it does. And you know that it does. You just don't want to face that it does. So you lie to yourself and to others and say, none of it matters. It's all relative. That's just your perspective, your opinion. No, you just don't want to grapple with the objective things of life that are knowable, which is why many folks will ignore empirical, objective data. And it looks rather silly when this occurs, because it very often looks something like, no, not listening, la 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 la. Because that's what's required to ignore the objective realities that each of us face, from existential type ones to relational type ones, to truth claims of all stripes. Listen, I'm not trying to patronize anybody in this, because I am the same as you, which is what I started tonight with. I'm in the same boat. I'm not immune to the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm not immune to the logical fallacies that you fall for. I'm not immune to the effects of pride. We're in this together. We will fail at the same things, or similar things, for the same reasons in the same ways at different stages. We will. But own it. So my ask is, when I deliver, which at this point I am planning to do next Friday, the sex talk. Where's the calendar? That's the 19th. June 19th. Barring some sort of shitty catastrophe, again, if you know, you know. Barring some sort of technological catastrophic failure, barring all of that, next Friday will be the sex talk. As a prerequisite, as a preamble to dating. Because again, I know what year it is. So yes, we will start straight away. Before we even talk about dating somebody, we're going to talk about sex. And when I do so, I'm going to speak to the matter of course things of life. I'm going to speak to the matter of fact, duh things whereby the intellectually honest, good faith actors among you will go, yeah, duh. Why would, of course. Why say it? It's so obvious. And where others of you will want to, reach for your keyboard and go, I disagree. Don't out yourselves as intellectually dishonest or bad faith actors. And if you do actually want positive relational outcomes in your life, you actually do, I ask is that you approach this clear-headed, clear-minded enough to listen to some things that maybe are freaking hard. No, that are certainly freaking hard. No maybe about it. Things that will be devastating to you. Things that would ask of you that you upend your entire life as you know it and all the stuff you get up to. Indeed. Because that will be the cost. Oh, I actually want peace and joy and I want... Oh, okay. We'll see. What do you mean we'll see? No, I definitely want those things. We will see by your actions. Not your words. We will see who sticks with it. We will see who negotiates in good faith and wrestles with the ideas on their merits, on the data, who is willing to consider perhaps doing something in a different way. Because I might rightly ask, how's the way you've been doing it going? How's that working out for you? And if the answer is your life is a series of relational train wrecks, you might ask why. And you might ask what the common denominator is. And then you might, God, I hope, listen to some of this. Because I am not here to embarrass you. I am not here to just talk down to you. I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm not here to call you out. I'm not here to embarrass you publicly. I'm not here to patronize. I'm here because I love you. And I'm here because I care. And I'm wrestling with these ideas and how I might present them well out of love, out of care. How many other people out there are going to wrestle with the ideas of the discomfort, of the awkward, awful, of it's going on the internet, where it will remain, giving a sex talk? I am doing this because I want for your thriving, and I am putting my money where my mouth is with that. My actions will betray my care for this. I do not expect to be held to a different standard than I just detailed outline holding for you. You can look at my calendar, you can look at my schedule, you can look at my daily time audit, and you will find I care a great deal about you. Because I'm not phoning this in. I care enough to do awkward and vulnerable things with you. The barrier between my doing so and you actually being benefited is the contrarianism, is the I want to be edgy, I want to sound cool, I want a fun little quip in there. You can just own it. You can just say, nah, I want terrible outcomes. I'm a victim and I want my life to suck so that I can have people feel sorry for me. I want when people to look at me, I want them to cover their children's eyes. I want to live in perpetual shame and misery and self-loathing. You can say that. At least to be honest. But I don't want it for you. Even if you actually do. You know what your addictions are? Your addictions, whatever they might be, your addictions are an intimacy disorder. You have an incorrect view of yourself. Many of you Most of you think too little of yourselves. Some of you, a non-zero number, think too highly of yourselves. But most of you, beneath the veneer, you think too low of yourselves. You have too low of you. And the outworking of that is how you sabotage the things that you say you want. How each day you undercut the very actions and activities that would actually get you there. You have too low a view of you. But I don't. I don't need to know you particularly well. I don't need to understand everything that you've done, everything you haven't done. I don't need to know all of that to hold you in terribly high esteem. I don't need to have your track record to think very highly of you indeed. Such that, not perhaps I admire all of your actions. What I mean is esteem you in your worth. Esteem you in your inherent value. And thus, I still want for your thriving. And I won't compromise on that. I will not sell out on that. I will not sell short on that. I will work to see your benefit. I will work to see it realized. I will do my part. I can't force you to do anything. I will show up here. I will do my best here. For my part, I'll do my absolute best to serve you in a way that leads to positive outcomes in your life, but you've got to do your part. You have to show up consciously and act in good faith and not undercut something that will actually lead to your thriving. So I'm going to be saying a whole bunch of countercultural things in the weeks and months to come, you guys. And you're going to have to decide. You, as an individual, not as a collective, not as some mob, not some impersonal mass. You will have to decide. What do I want for my life? Have my actions actually been leading to that? If not, you might ask why. And if you are willing to consider what might actually get you there, and stop stepping all over yourself in the attempt, then I invite you to seriously consider the empirical, data-driven advice and counsel that I have collected and that I will bring to bear to serve you. I invite you to consider those things in good faith. Even though they will be uncomfortable, guaranteed. It will chiefly be uncomfortable for me. Secondarily, it will be awkward and uncomfortable for thee. But I hope you show up nonetheless. So please do set an alarm for next week. I mean, set an alarm. Don't count on the Twitch go live notification. Listen, Rumbles is much better if you have the Rumble app. The notification is much more reliable, but set an alarm. Every Friday night we do this. 5 p.m. Pacific time. This whole relationships masterclass has been heavy. Really heavy for me. But this was hard. This was a hard wall to run up against. And it occurs to me now, in the middle of this, that I probably should have done this at the outset and not just take for granted that we are all going to be negotiating in good faith. We know what healthy relationships look like, and I want those for you. And anybody who comes along and says, no, we don't agree on what healthy outcomes look like, I don't want to hear it. We don't know that stable families is a good thing. That's not objectively a good thing. I'm planning on streaming tomorrow. I had some weird technology stuff tonight, but I'm going to be working on it now. It'll be the rest of my evening. I have every intention of streaming normal tomorrow. 10 a.m. Pacific. And again, 5 p.m. Pacific. Okay. 10 a.m., 5 p.m. A Just Chatting stream in the morning, which will be much lighter, I promise. Unless someone brings this up. and a very silly night tomorrow night, to be in huge contrast to this, because it is my hope to finish the game. Thank goodness you're here. The most feral game I have ever played tomorrow night. It's going to be something. So be here for those things. Again, if you guys have questions, any relationship-related question, for any season of relationships, from single to putting a ring on it to all the stuff in between, submit your question using the Notion board. Just type an exclamation point Notion in chat. I think Squirrel did it earlier, but you guys can punch it in at any point. Online, offline, it should pop up, okay? And it'll take you to a link where you can submit as many questions as you want. Just hit send on one, and then fill it out again, hit send again, as many times as you want. It's completely anonymous. You don't have to log in, you don't need an account, you don't need any of that crap. There's no emails, there's no nothing. And there's no identifiers. I have no idea who has submitted the questions, and that's how I prefer it. Is so I can answer the questions objectively. So submit whatever questions you want, however many questions you've got, relationship questions, submit them. No matter how embarrassing they are, no matter how personal they are to you. I will try, I think I've done an okay job with this so far, to, if it contains a bunch of stuff that's like pretty narrow and could theoretically out you as the person who did, I will make vague those things. I will round off those corners. I will make it as obscure as possible while still addressing the point. And I will be addressing those questions as appropriate for each season as we've gone through it. Last week, we tackled the singleness-related questions. At the end of the dating portion of this, I will answer the dating-specific type questions. That is, if they weren't specifically addressed in the course material. Same thing goes for engagement and marriage on the back end, okay? And then whatever all catch-all questions at the far end of the masterclass, I will address those. So submit whatever questions you've got. It's been very helpful to me to see where you guys are at, and to see what questions are weighing you guys down, to see what questions are burdening you. My aim is chiefly to serve you. You who are here, hearing my words. So it helps me a great deal when you submit those. Thank you to everybody who has, and thank you for your patience here tonight. I know I was really long-winded with this. I didn't get into it, but half an hour, I was like 40 minutes late to even starting stream. So I know I kept this under the hour and a half or whatever the heck it is. No, hour and 50, so still too long. Come in good faith for what lies ahead. No raid tonight. I'm not going to raid out after the seriousness. But I hope to see you guys tomorrow morning. I'm very grateful to everybody again who makes all of this possible. I'm grateful to all of you guys who would take this seriously, who would take yourselves seriously enough, to take you and your fellow man seriously enough to wrestle with this and to risk the discomfort. I know I've put a lot of discomfort out there tonight, for myself chiefly, and then for you guys. I know. Again, I have great praise for those of you who are doing the CNRs right now and wrestling with these ideas in an environment where there's no possible way it could benefit you socially to submit yourself to the difficulty. It's really cool that you would. It speaks volumes about you. And it speaks volumes about the caliber of human who's here tonight. I'm grateful to be surrounded as such, by such, as yourselves. To you. What will it look like tomorrow? Stream. What will it look like in the talks ahead in the masterclass? What will it look like in all the goodness? What does it look like to do this hard mode stuff? To join the Mafia Community Discord? To get plugged into the Rendezvous Term 2? Kicks off in the fall. What does it look like to get plugged into all of these things and to do life well, with wisdom and discernment? Come and see. Come and see. And as ever, I will strive to see that it's a decision that you don't regret. In the meantime, I wish for you each marvelous evenings, mornings, wherever ye be, and I will see you on the other side.